It's time for Lefties Losing It. Now, while normal people from across America were gathering in Phoenix to pay tribute to Charlie Kirk, the line started the night before, and by 4 a.m. the crowds were huge. As you can see, they're full of young people, not just those geriatric misfits you see at those No Kings protests, but amongst the patriots who love America, just like Charlie did, there was a small group of misfits who thought it's a good idea to protest a funeral. Just gross, gross. And talking about gross, this happened in NYC. A group of contemptible far-left imbeciles did their best to interrupt a sombre vigil for Charlie. How did they do that? Well, one screechy cretin sang Bella Ciao, a message written on one of the unfired bullets. And then some sad soy boys sang about wanting the young Republicans to die. This is the modern left, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't want your salvations.
Why?
I want you to die. We're not going to give you a second chance, even when you beg for it on your knees, begging and pleading.
Just when you think the left has hit rock bottom, they start digging. And that brings me to the Democrats, who have incited so much of this hate, so much of this hysteria and violence. Listen here to Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who shared a disgusting statement on X, reshared this claim that Charlie Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein and his monster shot him through the neck. Well, here is Omar on CNN with Caitlin Collins doubling down.
I think it was the video where it called him Dr. Frankenstein and said his monster shot him through the neck. I mean, obviously this is a person, and looking at this is someone who was a husband and a father, and in the days after his shocking death, that happened as a result of his views, or it happened as a result as he was sharing his views publicly with people, that people found it jarring to hear such criticism of that in the immediate aftermath of
what
death.
I find jarring is that there are so many people willing to excuse the most reprehensible things that he said, that they agree with that they're willing to have monuments for him, that they want to create a day to honor him, and that they want to produce resolutions in the House of Congress honoring his life and legacy. It is one thing to care about his life, because obviously so many people loved him, including his children and wife. But I am not going to sit here and be judged for not wanting to honor any legacy this man has left behind. That should be in the dustbin of history, and we should hopefully move on and forget the hate that he spewed every single day.
The only one spreading hate is that hideously ungrateful woman. You know, it's only in the West where people who hate the country are accepted as migrants and allowed to run for public office. As for Charlie being left in the dustbin of history, is that what she said? Well, his message, his name is bigger now than ever. Sorry, Ilhan. Now, let's check in on actress turned mad activist Cynthia Nixon. She's now boycotting lefty corporate Disney because they're not left enough, apparently. This is over the low-rating Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off air after deliberately lying about Charlie Kirk's alleged killer. Suddenly, the left cares about the First Amendment and free speech. If only they knew what it meant.
I just canceled my Disney Plus and Hulu subscriptions, and they asked me why. I hit other, and I wrote, because I believe in the First Amendment, reinstate Jimmy Kimmel. Now, my whole family is really going to miss Abbott Elementary. We are really going to miss Only Murders in the Building. But you know what? We would miss the First Amendment a whole lot more. Don't go to the theme parks. Don't go on the cruises. Cancel your subscriptions. Now.
Now let's hear from a race-baiting pastor spewing nothing but lies and vitriol. Now either he is lying and he knows he is lying, or he's ignorant. There are no other explanations for what you're about to hear.
calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. There's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life.
And Charlie Kirk worked another miracle today. He brought feuding former bros Elon Musk and President Donald Trump back together. And Elon had this to say about Charlie.
Charlie was someone who believed in dialogue, in open debate. He was a man of ideas. He spoke eloquently. He basically never even raised his voice. He was a man of peace. And now he's been murdered in cold blood.
Did you know him personally?
Yes, of course. We met many times.
How was he like?
I supported his organization. I supported Turning Point from quite early.
Why was he killed?
He was killed because his words made a difference. Because he was showing people the light. And he was killed by the dark.
We've just finished Charlie Kirk's memorial service. I've never experienced anything like that. I doubt I ever will again. I'm here with CJ Pearson. CJ, what did you take away from today?
I think my takeaway today is that we are not just witnessing a funeral here, but we're witnessing a revival. And I got to say that this is such a beautiful thing to see. But when J.D. Vance said that it is time for us to put on the armor of God and to get back to work, that resonated with me. And I think it resonated with the tens of thousands of people who packed into this arena. Actually, not just arena, a stadium. This was Taylor Swift numbers that came out here for Charlie Kirk, but came out here for his message of loving your God, loving your country, loving your family. That assassin tried to end this movement with a bullet, but instead what he did is he let it to grow in a way in which we've never seen before, and I don't think we ever could have predicted.
Erica Kirk was just so powerful, so full of grace. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house here when she finished her speech. Where do you think that strength comes from to stand there less than 2 weeks after her husband was torn from her and to forgive his killer?
It comes from God. There's no other explanation for it. To sit there, to stand on that stage and to say, I forgive you, after she has gone through unspeakable pain, unspeakable hurt, unspeakable tragedy. And for her to have the power and the courage and the bravery to say those words, it's almost inhuman, right? It's supernatural in a sense. But it's not supernatural. We know where it comes from. It comes directly from God. And I've got to say that she is a woman made for such a time as this. If there's anyone that can carry on the torch and the legacy of Charlie Kirk, it is her. And, as a 23-year-old young man who's single, oftentimes I would talk to Charlie and say, CJ, when are you getting married? And I wasn't in a rush. But when I think about the type of woman that I one day hope to marry, it's one that can stand there with such resolute strength in the face of adversity and keep going and keep fighting. And that's exactly what Erica Kirk is doing.
And Erica Kirk had a message for young men in America, young men across the world.
To all the men watching around the world, accept Charlie's challenge and embrace true manhood. Be strong and courageous for your families. Love your wives and lead them. Love your children and protect them. Be the spiritual head of your home. But please be a leader worth following.
Tell me about that message. It's one that Charlie not only preached, but he lived it. He wanted his friends to live it. What did that mean to him?
It was a call to action. It was a call to action for us to reject the narrative that comes from the left, that we should be demonized for wanting to be protectors, wanting to be providers, wanting to be the men. and the role and play the role of men that God calls us to play. And so I take it again as a call to action. I think it's time for us to all get to work. It's time for us to dig deeper, to fight harder, and to leave it all out on the field for Charlie and for his legacy.
And when she spoke about embracing real manhood, what does that mean to you?
I think exactly what she said. She took the words out of my mouth. Not treating women as our servants, but as our partners, being one flesh, and to realize that we are all in this together. We are all fighting for a more perfect union, a better America that serves us better and truer. And again, it was a call to action to be who God calls us to be. And if more of us reflected that promise, reflected that call to action, the world would be a better place.
Now, the service from start to finish was so spiritual. Charlie's faith was the central point throughout. It was about family, it was about freedom, country, but at the foremost, it was about faith.
You're right, and I think that's what, of course, I think resonated with so many people in this room. And why you're seeing here in America, churches being full, parking lots outside of them being full. Because he didn't only just lead people to truth, he led them to God. Because he realizes that all of truth derives from the most ultimate truth, the word of our Holy Father. And so I've got to say, it's incredible to see so many young people flocking towards tradition. We've already seen it. We've seen study after study saying that young men are running back to church. And I got to say, that is a good fortune for America, good fortune for the West, and I'm excited to see where this movement goes.
Now, J.D. Vance mentioned that he loves his faith, his relationship with God, but he's never been really comfortable talking about it. But in the past 2 weeks, he said he's publicly spoken about God more than he has possibly throughout his entire adult life. Do you think that's going to become a trend with prominent people not being ashamed to say what their faith is and what it means to them?
That story resonated with me because I can relate to it a lot. And I think that it is going to be an increasing trend. And the reason being is that when things like this happen, the only thing that can really get you through it is God. Because it doesn't make any sense why such an evil person would put a bullet inside of Charlie Kirk simply for having different opinions than he did, for standing for God, for country, and for faith, and all of those things. Why should such an evil happen? But it's about what came after that. This would not have been possible. People would not be flocking towards the truth, flocking towards church, if he had not made the sacrifice of his life that he did. And it's a hard thing to conceptualize, but it's one of which that if you believe in God and you have faith, it slowly starts to make sense. And so I think it will become more of a trend.
Now, Charlie was called a joyful warrior. He always had a smile on his face. He never lost his temper. He was always kind. And today we saw some footage we haven't seen before of his final minutes, final hour, when he went into that university, and he was so happy, so full of life, and so full of positivity. It really was so heartbreaking to see that, and then to know what followed.
It was absolutely devastating. And every single day, he laced up his boots and he went out there on the battlefield of ideas and fought for everything that he believed in. And that passion, that energy should be what fuels us in the days ahead, in the months ahead, in the years ahead. We've got to fight like Charlie, and we've got to fight for Charlie, because his legacy should not die with him. It should be alive. It is alive. We see it in this room here today, 100,000 people. That did more numbers than Elvis Presley, folks are saying, right? And I got to say, again, like you said, there was no dry eye in this room after hearing all those incredible speakers, and there was a very, very obvious reason for that.
New York Post is reporting there were 200,000 people in and around the stadium, so the crowd numbers are completely incredible. But we do have the left. We have mainstream Democrats saying that Charlie was a hateful figure. He shouldn't be celebrated. Ilhan Omar, I think, said he will be a footnote in history. I mean, it's such a callous remark to make at any time, but particularly now. What's your response to her and others like her?
I think it's disgusting, but I think when Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time, and I think the left has shown us exactly who they are. You know, when their heroes die, what do conservatives do? We pray for them. When our heroes die, what do? They dance on their graves, and it's a sick, sick thing that I think that we can only do is pray for healing for them. What I'll say is what I love to have seen after this is that we didn't go and burn down buildings. We didn't go and riot. What did we do? We lit up candles and we prayed together. And I think that is what differentiates us from the left and the right. Simple as that.
It's all good to talk about unity and coming together, but how realistic is that when you've got a certain percentage of the country that thinks violence is a reasonable response to disagreement?
And not just a certain percentage. According to a YouGov poll, nearly 50% of those who identify as liberal believe political violence is at times justified. How can we unify with these people? I think that what we need to do is we need to, again, remind ourselves of what American actually being, what that actually means. And it means having appreciation for free speech, the discourse, and the exchange of ideas. And we've got to get back to that for the sake of our country, for the survival of our country, we have to get back to it. But as you said, I'm deeply troubled by those stats. I'm deeply troubled by those polling numbers. And hopefully we can figure out a way to right this ship before it's too late.
And the revival started today.
It started today and it's not ending.
CJ Pearson, thank you for your time.